Texas signs the number one transfer portal tight end, Jack Endries, coming from Cal. Endries is a hell of a player, 6'4", and I believe 247 actually clocked him at a 4.68 40-yard dash, which is pretty damn impressive coming from a tight end. Endries comes over to Texas, and I think he'll be a safety blanket for Arch Manning. Chip, what are your thoughts on the signing for Texas? Kind of break this down, and how will this impact Texas's offense going into next season?
Yeah, it's a big-time signing. He was Jack Endries, the number one tight end in the transfer portal, and he's a do-it-all guy. You know, he can block, he can get down the field, he can catch. He's experienced. He had 56 catches last year for Cal. And you know, the tight end last year, Gunnar Helm, set the receptions record with 60 catches for a tight end in a single season. So Endries is a prolific guy. He's experienced. He knows how to get open against zone, against man. I think this is a huge pickup because Texas, after losing Gunnar Helm and Juan Davis last year, two experienced guys, they were going to, turn to guys who had never really played because Amari Niblack, who transferred over from Alabama, ended up transferring again because he had to sit behind Gunnar Helm. He transferred to Texas A&M. So they were looking at sophomore Spencer Shannon, who I think is going to be a good player, but he'll get, and he'll rotate in. Jordan Washington's another guy who they're very excited about. Emery Winston is a true freshman who lit up the spring. But yeah, Jack Endries, he's going to be a big time go-to guy for Arch Manning. I'm not even sure, I think they've met on when Endries visited, but they're going to have to get to know each other real quick.
Definitely. And I felt as though Gunnar Helm was our Quinn Ewers safety blanket, so to speak, for the last few seasons. I feel like having that was a key part in Ewers' development, his success, so to speak. Now, let me ask you, do you think Endries can fill that role that Helm has held for the last 2 seasons? Obviously, a hell of a player Texas is losing, but a hell of a player Texas is getting in the portal from Cal. Do you think he can step up and fill Helm's role, so to speak?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you catch 56 balls at the tight end position in one season. You know how to get open. You're a guy that is trusted, obviously, by the quarterback, and smart guy. Obviously, went to Cal. So Steve Sarkisian's offense is pretty layered. It's very conceptual. You have to know how you fit into every play, and that's something that younger players, it takes a little time to absorb. And with Endries being a guy who's already done it, I think he sure looks like, I watched his film. He sure looks like the kind of guy who can come in and is a walk-in, plug-and-play starter.
Ooh, man, Chip, that makes me excited. We're going to discuss Arch Manning in a second because I got so many questions I got to ask you about Arch. But let me ask you about the transfer portal. I had Rodney Anderson, Oklahoma star running back from, played about 6 years ago, his teammates with Baker Mayfield. And I asked him about the transfer portal. He's working with NIL with the Sooners. And I asked him just about the transfer portal, the landscape, just the landscape of college football. It's definitely changed since he was playing over the last 6 years, changed since I was playing as well. What are your thoughts on the transfer portal as a whole, the lack of regulation, so to speak, NIL, and just this era of college football, how it's changed over the last 5 years as you guys at the Longhorns get Jack Endries here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. I wrote, back in, when Claudia Wilkin, the federal judge in the O'Bannon case, said that if they would have given student athletes $5,000 in name, image, and likeness money, all of this would have been avoided.
Right.
And
yeah.
The schools ignored it. They hoped it would go away. Then the lawmakers got involved, and suddenly any hope for guardrails were out the window. And now you've got schools, digging around in the couch cushions, trying to come up with money, not only for facility upgrades, but now for, every sport. I mean, it's not just football. It's not just basketball. It's not just baseball. You got softball, you got women's basketball. These players are commanding six figures. Nigeri Kennedy at Texas Tech got $1 million as a softball pitcher.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you have boosters who are just sports crazy and money out the yin yang, you can compete. I mean, Texas Tech.
Oh yeah.
In NIL spending on JT Toppin for basketball and football. They've got the #1 class in the transfer portal, and Nigeri Kennedy, the $1 million softball pitcher, and they've got a booster named Cody Campbell, who just sold his energy company for $3 billion.
$4 billion, that's right. Yeah.
And he's he loves his school. He wants them to compete, and I guess his wife is okay with him throwing tens of millions of dollars at these student athletes. So it's unsustainable.
Agreed.
And if you have a downturn in your program, some of these boosters are going to be like, I'm kind of, there's donor fatigue, they call it. And so I'll give credit to Steve Sarkisian. Ever since the 5-7 season in 2021, he's maintained momentum for the program.
Definitely.
In 2022, he goes 8-4 and he gets Arch Manning. In 2023, goes to the college football playoff, gets the Final Four. Same in 2024. And in both of those games, they were knocking on the door.
Yeah, that's right.
With a chance to either tie or take the lead late. So he's maintained that momentum. I think a lot of offensive-minded players want to play in his offense because they see guys like Matt Golden and Xavier Worthy go on to the league, and so as long as Sarkisian's putting up prolific numbers, attracting top quarterbacks, the skill players want to come play with a great quarterback. So he's reeling them in right now.
Definitely. And like you mentioned, I'm a big fan of Sark. I grew up in Seattle, so I was a little kid when he was at Washington way back in the day. Now we've seen him, 10 years later, really progress, and I think Texas is going to be formidable next season.